जा रही है।
यस मैम।
यस। ओके, सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। मैं मधुप्रिया, सहायक प्रोफेसर हिंदी विभाग, रविन्द्रनाथ टैगोर विश्वविद्यालय भोपाल। आज के इस कार्यक्रम में मैं सभी का स्वागत करती हूँ। आज हम सब यहाँ एक ऐसे विद्वान को जानने के लिए जानेंगे जो अर्थशास्त्र के क्षेत्र में न केवल गहन शोध किया है, अपितु शिक्षा नीति निर्माण और सामाजिक विकास में भी उल्लेखनीय योगदान दिया है। मुझे अत्यंत हर्ष हो रहा है कि मुझे उनके परिचय एवं बायोडाटा को आपके समक्ष प्रस्तुत करने का शुभ अवसर प्राप्त हुआ है। इसके लिए मैं सर्वप्रथम बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर मराठवाड़ा विश्वविद्यालय छत्रपति संभाजी नगर के यूजीसी एवं एमएमटीटीपी के ऑनलाइन 16वां FIP का हार्दिक धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करती हूँ, जिनके सौजन्य से यह कार्यक्रम संभव हो पाया है। और इनके निरंतर सहयोग एवं प्रोत्साहन के बिना हम ऐसे आयोजन का हिस्सा नहीं बनते। तो मैं प्रोफेसर सुभाष तुलसीदास कुंबड़े सर, जो कि शिवाजी विश्वविद्यालय कोल्हापुर में अर्थशास्त्र विभाग में प्रोफेसर हैं, इनके बारे में बताना चाहूँगी कि वे एक अनुभवी शिक्षक, शोधकर्ता और प्रशासक हैं, जिन्होंने अर्थशास्त्र के क्षेत्र में विकास विकास अर्थशास्त्र, सार्वजनिक अर्थशास्त्र, शिक्षा अर्थशास्त्र और नीति अनुसंधान में विशेषज्ञता हासिल की है। सर के पास 23 वर्षों का शिक्षण अनुभव और 17 वर्षों का शोध अनुभव है। वे अब तक 3 शोधार्थियों को PhD प्रदान करा चुके हैं और वर्तमान में 8 शोधार्थियों का मार्गदर्शन कर रहे हैं। प्रशासनिक एवं वैधानिक पद की बात करें तो सर ने विश्वविद्यालय में कई महत्वपूर्ण जिम्मेवारियां निभाई हैं। मनोविज्ञान विभाग के अध्यक्ष रहे हैं 17 सितंबर 2022 से 17 सितंबर 2025 तक। करियर गाइडेंस एवं मनोवैज्ञानिक परामर्श केंद्र के समन्वयक भी रहे हैं 17 सितंबर 2022 से 17 सितंबर 2025 तक। अकादमिक प्रशासन अकादमिक के समन्वयक भी रहे हैं। अर्थशास्त्र में ब्रिज कोर्स के समन्वयक भी रहे हैं 9 जुलाई 2013 से अब तक। नोडल अधिकारी महाराष्ट्र राज्य खाद्य एवं औषधि प्रशासन में भी मई 2025 से अभी तक है। केंद्रीय प्लेसमेंट सेल एवं गुरुवर्य लक्ष्मण राव ईमानदार सहकारी प्रशिक्षण केंद्र के भी समन्वयक हैं। इसके अलावा वे IQAC फीस निर्धारण समिति, छात्र शिकायत निवारण समिति, जाति आधारित भेदभाव निवारण समिति सहित कई वैधानिक समितियों के भी सदस्य हैं। वे विभिन्न विश्वविद्यालयों में RSC DRC के सदस्य एवं अध्यक्ष भी हैं। शैक्षणिक योगदान की बात करें तो NAC पीयर टीम में सदस्य एवं सदस्य समन्वयक रहे हैं। कॉलेजों एवं विश्वविद्यालयों के अकादमिक एवं प्रशासनिक समिति के सदस्य भी हैं। राष्ट्रीय परीक्षण एजेंसी के पर्यवेक्षक भी हैं। NCERT नई दिल्ली में पाठ्यक्रम संशोधन के विशेषज्ञ सदस्य हैं। NEP 2020 पर राष्ट्रीय स्तर के 6 रिफ्रेशर एवं FDP आयोजित करा चुके हैं और अंतर अनुशासनिक शिक्षण के 6 कार्यक्रम संचालित इन्होंने किए हैं। शोध एवं प्रकाशन की बात करूं तो सर का शोध विशेषज्ञता क्षेत्र विकास अर्थशास्त्र, सार्वजनिक अर्थशास्त्र, शिक्षा अर्थशास्त्र एवं नीति अनुसंधान है। उनके प्रमुख योगदान है शोध पत्र प्रस्तुति उन्होंने 24 दिए हैं, कार्यशाला और सम्मेलन आयोजित 13, शोध लेख उनके 25 है, लिखित पुस्तकें 4 हैं, सलिखित पुस्तकें 4 हैं, संपादित पुस्तकें 7 हैं और पुस्तक अध्याय उन्होंने 10 लिखे हैं। और शोध परियोजना एवं परामर्श डॉक्टर कुंबड़े सर ने बड़े पैमाने पर नीति आधारित एवं परामर्श परियोजनाएं पूरी की हैं। इनका जो पहली परियोजना थी वो थी जिला स्तर पर जिला घरेलू उत्पाद अनुमानों का संकलन। महाराष्ट्र सरकार के योजना मंत्रालय अर्थशास्त्र एवं सांख्यिकी निदेशालय मुंबई द्वारा स्वीकृत है, जो कि 85 लाख का यह प्रोजेक्ट है। दूसरा जो प्रोजेक्ट है जो कि पूर्ण हो चुका है, दूसरा जो प्रोजेक्ट है वो है यवतमाल जिले के जिला रणनीति योजना, जिला कलेक्टर जिला योजना समिति यवतमाल, या 20 लाख का प्रोजेक्ट है। सिंधुदुर्ग जिले की जिला रणनीति योजना, जिला कलेक्टर जिला योजना समिति सिंधुदुर्ग, यह 21 लाख का प्रोजेक्ट है। सोलापुर जिले की जिला रणनीति योजना, जिला कलेक्टर जिला योजना समिति सोलापुर, यह भी 21,64,378 का परियोजना है। रायगढ़ जिले की जिला रणनीति योजना, जिला कलेक्टर जिला योजना समिति रायगढ़, यह भी 21 लाख का प्रोजेक्ट है। तो कुल मिलाकर यह भी 85,90,915 का की परियोजना है जो कि पूर्ण हो चुकी है। और इसके अलावा भी है रुकड़ी पुल का सामाजिक प्रभाव मूल्यांकन, लोक निर्माण विभाग कोल्हापुर का की एक परियोजना है जो कि पूरी हो चुकी है, जो 4 लाख की है। हिरण्यकेशी सर्फनाला मध्यम सिंचाई परियोजना का सामाजिक प्रभाव मूल्यांकन, यह भी इनकी एक परियोजना है जो कि पूर्ण हो चुकी है और यह 3,69,000 रुपए की है। अम्बे ओ हाल मध्यम सिंचाई परियोजना का सामाजिक प्रभाव मूल्यांकन, लोक निर्माण विभाग कोल्हापुर, जो कि 2019 में हुआ और यह भी 3,74,000 का है। कड़गांव गांव राधा ब्रिज रोड परियोजना का सामाजिक प्रभाव मूल्यांकन, केरली तारफ बाड़ी रत्नागिरी ज्योतिबा रोड परियोजना का सामाजिक प्रभाव मूल्यांकन, आउटर रिंग रोड रोड विकास परियोजना का सामाजिक प्रभाव मूल्यांकन, राजा राम बांधारा ब्रिज परियोजना का सामाजिक प्रभाव मूल्यांकन, ये इनके परियोजना पूर्ण हो चुकी है और यह जो है 31 लाख, कुल मिला के 31,66,000 की परियोजना है जो कि पूर्ण हो चुकी है। अभी जो परियोजनाएं ये चला रहे हैं उसमें मांझगांव रिंग रोड रोड विकास परियोजना का सामाजिक प्रभाव मूल्यांकन, सावंतवाड़ी जिला सिंधुदुर्ग। दूसरा है मांझगांव रिंग रोड रोड विकास परियोजना का सामाजिक प्रभाव, मछली एवं मटन बाजार का सामाजिक प्रभाव मूल्यांकन, सिंगड़ापुर जल आपूर्ति परियोजनाओं के लिए भूमि अधिग्रहण का सामाजिक प्रभाव मूल्यांकन। मतलब कि इन सारे परियोजनाओं में सामाजिक जो प्रभाव पड़ रहा है उसका मूल्यांकन किस तरह से किया गया है, इस पर इन्होंने काफी परियोजनाएं की हैं और ये परियोजना अभी चल रही है जो कि 21,63,000 की है। इनकी लघु शोध परियोजना भी है जो कि कोल्हापुर जिले में सार्वजनिक एवं निजी स्कूलों में प्राथमिक शिक्षा की वृद्धि एवं गुणवत्ता की तुलनात्मक अध्ययन पर है, जो कि 1 लाख रुपए का परियोजना है। इस तरह से सुभाष कुमड़े सर एक समर्पित शिक्षाविद, कुशल प्रशासक और नीति निर्माण में सक्रिय योगदान देने वाले प्रोफेसर हैं। उनका कार्य शिक्षा विकास एवं सामाजिक प्रभाव के क्षेत्र में महाराष्ट्र के लिए विशेष रूप से महत्वपूर्ण है। धन्यवाद।
येस, थँक यू मॅम. सर तुमचा माईक ऑन करा. ओके.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Madhuji, for a nice introduction. Not
धन्यवाद
necessary
सर।
for each and every aspect of the work done, and we have done entire work in a team where the entire work is associated with the policy making, particularly when we talk about the state level policy making and at the district level policy making, where people participation is important, people consideration is important. Thank you very much. Thank you.
थैंक यू सर। थैंक
I'm thankful for MMTTC, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, Sambhajinagar, for inviting me to have a dialogue with the participants. You all participants across from the different various states. So I'm thankful to them for giving me an opportunity to interact with you. So thank you very much. Here, first of all, I will share my presentation and then we will begin the session. Being a teacher of economics, I am always believe in that everything is counted, everything is measured, and there are solutions for each and every problem. So solutions are there, so we have to look after the solutions. So here first I will share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible, sir.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So let's begin with today's topic assigned to me in this 1 month induction program, where the participants across the disciplines have been participated, and they are actively. I know that you all are actively listening to these presentations, where this will be help you to incorporate, to apply in your specific discipline. So the topic is Atmanirbhar Bharat, opportunities and challenges. Today we are seeing that everywhere the issue of discussion is about the $5 trillion economy of India, and can India become developed nations in coming future. So keeping in mind this, the entire aspects of this Atmanirbhar Bharat, and what are the opportunities and challenges, that basically we will discuss about the opportunities and challenges, where what challenges are there and what opportunities that we can encash with this growing economy. At present, our economy is growing very a comfortable growth rate, and the Honorable Prime Minister has announced that by 2047, by celebrating our centenary, that India should become a developed nation, where all the benefits of economic development should reach to the person who is currently staying at very bottom level, and the main agenda and main goal of all the economic policy, all the economic interventions made by the central government or by the different state government, to bring that person up in the upper segment of the income, and for the consumption, comfortable consumption levels. So here, a few things that I would like to share with you. The Atmanirbhar Bharat, where we need to understand. Basically, we need to understand the historical and the developmental agendas laid down by the government of India since 1991, from where we have approached the globalization. Was a very important key aspects when we talk about 1991. Our country was in big trouble, and that at that time that LPG policy was announced, that is liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Now in this globalization, privatization, and liberalization, now we are thinking about self-reliance India. That is very important. Nowadays, we are listening from all the policymakers that how this self-reliance can be achieved, because achievement of this self-reliance will necessarily beneficial to the India to come up at the global level. So that is what another important aspects when we talk about this globalization, privatization, and liberalization. So globalization and self-reliance, are these opposite to each other? At one place we are looking after the globalization, and another place we are trying to have a self-reliance. Self-reliance means self-sufficiency, basically to fulfill the need of the residents, those who are living in the country. That is what another important dimension of economic development. Now, the another important aspects when we talk about this Atmanirbhar Bharat, that India's response to changing global trade dynamics. This is what another important aspects where we need to understand how India is responding to changing global trade dynamics. Recently, we have heard so many things about the international trade, that the United States of America has laid down tariff, that is what we can say, unjust tariff policy that they have tried to impose on India, and how India is reacting to those tariff policies. Because through trade, every country is connected with the other country. In the trade, we always look after the direction of trade and composition of trade. What is the composition of trade? Composition means what commodities are there in our basket of import and export. We are not here considering only import and only export, but import and export, that we always call it as international trade. So India's response to changing global trade dynamics means how India is reacting to the change happens by or the change undertaken by the other countries related to the traded goods and related to the tariff policies. So that is what another important aspects, and how we are importing from. And now the debated issue is that we are importing crude from the Russian government and from Russia particularly, and the America is what opposing that, and they are pressing us to reduce your trade and stop your import from Russia and divert it through the other countries. But India is consistently saying that we are getting advantage to have a oil trade with Russia, and there are always conflicts between India and USA that we are seeing since last 1 year. Every time some new changes are coming up, some new tariffs rates announced by the United States of America, and India is what wisely responding, wisely reacting to whatever changes made in the tariff rate by United States of America. So this conflict, we can say that this is a conflict, but what we are looking at as a trade opportunity, and we are looking at as an opportunity to build trade relations with other countries like Germany, like France, like so many countries. There are so many countries in Europe. So we are trying to tie note with them to reduce the whatever shocks that we have received from the change in the tariff policy by United States of America. The third important thing is Atmanirbhar Bharat as a strategic, not isolationist approach. See, Atmanirbhar Bharat means what? We are not looking after that we will produce whatever is required to the country. It is not at all possible. If you look at the basic economic theories regarding international trade, that the theories of David Ricardo, that is what comparative cost advantage theory. So no, each country does not have a comparative cost advantage in each of the product. Therefore, the international trade is there, and this trade that we need to understand with the strategies which are associated with Atmanirbhar Bharat, not isolationist. We are not thinking about that. We will be separate, and we will have Atmanirbhar Bharat, we will have production, we will have all the services that we can fulfill here only. It is not that. We will be active participants in the international trade, and we will not be isolationist, but we are looking for Atmanirbhar Bharat. That is what the production, the manufacturing in all segment of the market. So that is the main approach, and that is the main crux of this Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now, when we talk about globalization and when we talk about self-reliance, so we are always talking, nowadays we are talking about the self-reliance. Few years back, we were not the part of the defense exporter. But now we are exporting defense equipment. Means we are looking differently to this Atmanirbhar Bharat policies and self-reliance policies. Just look at what globalization emphasis on. The globalization emphasis on openness. That is, if you remember that the World Trade Organization, it was founded in 1995, and it has started, all the countries, member countries were participated in the trade, and they were abide with the rules and regulations and the policies which are laid down by the World Trade Organization. And the countries were following those policies. Some countries were violating, but most of the countries were following that the globalization policies about the international trade, fair international trade, cross-border trades. So this is also an important feature when we talk about the globalization. International capital flow and global supply chain. See, these are the two important aspects when we are talking about. Now, we are not just trading goods. We are not sending goods from one country to another country, the services from one country to another country. We are not trading only goods and services, but nowadays we are seeing that the capital flows takes a significant part, because it decides that what would be the level of your growth rate. Because when we are talking about foreign direct investment, when we are talking about financial institutional investment, FII, so these investments are playing a very crucial role to make the availability to fulfill the needs of the industry of the capital flow. So this capital flow, capital flight from one country to another country, from our country to other country, from other country to our country. So that inflow and outflow of capital also a determining factor of economic growth. So therefore, this capital flow is also an important parameter to understand about this. Global supply chains. These global supply chains are very important. You might be heard about geopolitics. Now the countries are looking to the world from the different angle, because they are looking in the future. They are looking to have a control over supply chain management, because in this advanced stage of production, the global supply chains determining a crucial role, playing a crucial role in the reaching to the destinations, reaching to the markets. So these are the few points which we can consider while considering globalization. In globalization, all these factors are important. Countries are looking after all these areas, and they are setting their policies as per the rules and regulations laid down by the World Trade Organizations. Now, some countries are violating those rules. That is a different part, because they are showing their economic power. They are showing that how they can control the entire global economy, and that is not ethical way to present in front of the globe. So that needs to be understood, because the country has to be, all the countries, those who are founders, members of this World Trade Organization, they are abide with the rules and regulations made by the World Trade Organization, and they have to follow these rules and regulations. Now, the another important aspects where we are looking for, because our country, Honorable Prime Minister, and all the economic agents are looking after self-reliance. So this, what self-reliance means? See, domestic production. See, earlier, after independence, and particularly after 1980s, India had two policies in terms of international trade. One was import substitution, and another was export promotion. When we are talking about import substitution, means what? Whatever commodity that we are importing, we are fulfilling need of our people, we should produce those commodities in the country. So that was the import substitution. For that, what countries were looking after? the technology transfer from one country to another country, and India was trying to have a import substitution, so we can reduce the burden on the foreign exchange, that we can save the foreign exchange by importing ready commodity, the final commodity which are ready for final consumption. Instead of that, let's have an intermediate commodity. That is what we can call it as a machines, what we can call it as a technology. And they were talking about bring that technology in the country and we will have a domestic production. So that was what import substitution mechanism. So the import substitution, that country could save some foreign exchange. Export promotion, various export promotion measures have been taken, have been applied, have been laid down and tried to increase the export. So these two policies were applied by the Indian government. Now we are looking in self-reliance domestic production. We are not calling it as an import substitution, but we are talking about domestic production. Domestic production of what? It is not limited with any one commodity. Why it is not limited with any one commodity? Because we are looking after production of all the commodity. So the domestic production that we are looking after, and we are looking after for this domestic production, we are using our capital and we are also trying to raise funds from the other countries, other international agencies through the way of borrowing, through the way of foreign direct investment. We are trying to attract the investors to come to India. We will provide a basic infrastructure facilities, some incentives also, and start production here. So we are looking up to domestic production with various angles. Through one thing is that we can attract foreign direct investment to our country. So this foreign direct investment will help to increase the domestic production, and we can say that almost $81 billion that foreign investment is what foreign direct investors have invested in our country during the financial year 2024-25. So we are looking for this kind of production because we are lagging with capital availability. So we are trying to get this foreign direct investment, and even foreign direct investors are also preferring to India because they look after several advantages. What are advantages? Labor force, cheap labor force. Nowadays, government of India is taking massive action on basic infrastructure facilities. And these basic infrastructure facilities are playing very crucial role in the supply chain management. Because without this infrastructure, communication, transportation, logistic, we cannot have a growth. All these, it is always said that the roads are nerves of the economies. So where the roads reached, economic development reached at that particular place. So to reach out this benefit of economic development, to participate the bottom level individuals in the economic growth, we have to connect them with the country's economic infrastructure, and we can participate them in this economic growth and economic production. So the domestic production is a very primary goal through which we can achieve self-reliance. Because with this domestic production, it is not only just our agenda of domestic production, but we are looking after fulfilling the needs of the domestic people, of the Indian people, and exporting to other countries. So we are looking up to two approaches. One is to make sure the availability of commodities to the people of the country, and another to export it to the needy countries and to earn the foreign exchange, foreign currency. So this is what another important aspects when we are looking after the domestic production. Reduce import dependence. This is another important way to understand. So import dependence, we are not calling import substitutions. We are not calling import substitutions, but we are calling it as a reduce import dependence. We have to reduce import dependence. And with the reduction in import dependence, we can achieve the self-reliance India. So this import dependence have to be reduced, and how this can be reduced? Only with the way of domestic production. Because nowadays capital flight from one country to another country is not difficult. The capital will fly from one country to another country where they assured more returns. And with the strong base of domestic consumption, the capital inflow to India is increasing, because there is assurance that whatever is produced in the country, there is a possibility of demand, either domestic demand, and if they could increase the production, there is a possibility of export also to earn the foreign currency. That is national economic resilience. This is what another important aspect where we are looking for. National economic resilience, when we are talking about our country, the existing current scenario of our economic variables, economic growth, GDP, growth rate, exchange rate, inflation rate, we are trying to look after all these aspects were important. Now, another important thing is self-reliance does not imply isolation. That from the earlier slide, we can understand that how the globalization is different and the self-reliance is different. So in self-reliance, we are looking in a holistic way, where we are trying to increase domestic production, we are trying to increase export, we are trying to make availability of commodities to the consumption of domestic people. So it is not isolation. We are not just looking after that. See, we self-reliance means we will produce and we will consume, and we will not be dependent on other countries for any kind of consumption. So we need to understand that it is not isolation, but it is active participation in international trade. Why active participation in international trade? Because we are looking after self-reliance. Self-reliance, we are trying to fulfill the demands for our people, and we are trying to increase our share in the global economy, particularly when we talk about the international trade and specifically the export share in the entire global trade. Possess strong internal capabilities. Why we are looking after self-reliance? Because we are looking some strong internal capabilities. One is called as a technology. Nowadays, the technology transfer is very easy. With the way of technology transfer and with the way of innovation-led economic development, the government of India has started some significant policies about Startup India, Make in India, Make for India, and even Make for entire globe. So the technology, in terms of technology, recently, or 2 years back, our Prime Minister has inaugurated that one factory, that is what? We are producing semiconductors. So all these things are showing that the India is actively participating in technology, and with the help of technology transfer, the country is looking for the utilization of its capabilities in the international manufacturing. Now we are the manufacturing hub, because if you look at the foreign direct investment, almost 81 billion, we can understand that how this foreign direct investment is. And if you look at the cumulative figure of this foreign direct investment, is termed as almost $1 trillion. So the manufacturing area where we are lagging, now we are not performing that much good, but the net increase is there. The net increase during last 10-15 years is appeared in the manufacturing sector, and therefore we are trying to have a major role, play major role in the manufacturing sectors. Skill, that is what another important aspects. If what is our strong point, what is our strong internal capability, that is skill, because we have to look after the skill of this population, because we have like physical resource, we have a human resources also. Our working population, looking after our total population, working population, the population, young population, that we are trying to imbibe skills in this human resource, so through which we can have a lot of opportunities in the earning of the foreign exchange. Institutions, enabling it to engage with the global economy from position of strengths, and globalization without domestic capacity can lead to vulnerability. Now we are seeing this in the initial stage of this globalization. Before World Trade Organization, there was general agreement on tariffs and trade. GATT treaty was there. Since independence, India was a founder member of this treaty, and there were various provisions about quota share and export duties on the traded international commodities. But after we see that, and after the World Trade Organization, that we have seen, if the country does not possess domestic capacity, it will lead vulnerability, because the highly dependence on the other country, and that should not be there. And that is what another important aspects when we are looking after globalization. Without domestic capacity can lead to vulnerability, and that we have experienced during the first almost 15 years of independence, where for the feeding to the populations, we were dependent on other countries. And we all know that PL 480 treaty with the United States of America is well known. So dependency, in total dependent on the other country, that might not be good for becoming the developed nations, and therefore the domestic capacity has to be increased, and this domestic capabilities, and India have several domestic capabilities that should convert into the real term to reduce the vulnerability, basically when we are talking about the international trade. Excessive import dependence has to be reduced. Now, till date, almost before 10 years back, we were entirely dependent on other countries for the basically defense equipments. Now, country has taken lead in the manufacturing of defense equipment, and India has exported it almost of 25,000 crores. So it indicates that these capacities are with the countries. We have to look after those capabilities, and we have to take initiatives in that particular domain where country can have a lot of advantages, and they can have their stake in international market. Exposure to external shocks, as seen during global crises such as pandemic or trade wars. So our economy is less exposed to the shocks. That is what we have subprime shocks. We have observed oil crisis of 1971, then 2008 subprime crisis, that Goldman Sachs and other banks were bankrupted in United States. But we did not hard hit by those crises because our economy has a strong base of domestic consumption. And after this domestic consumption, the investment is also looking up about the what is the share of the domestic consumption and what is the potential to export to other countries. Even in pandemic that we have seen, our growth rate was reduced only because of restrictions. Pandemic has laid down some restrictions on the trade activities, some restrictions on the production activities because the lockdown situation was there. But after that, after release of that, our economy again reached at the earlier level of economic growth immediately within 1 year. So these shocks are there, trade wars are there, but we are not hardly heated by these wars where the other countries' economies were suffered a lot with the change happens in the economy. So the self-reliance that we need to understand how that we can participate in economic development, how we can participate in global economic development with the self-reliance, with the self-sufficiency in production, with the strong base of export, because several countries that we have seen after Second World War, that Germany has developed like anything, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, all these countries are best example of the economic development and revival of economy within a short period of time with the huge capital investment and the focused efforts about the domestic capacity. And now they are leading exporters. And though their economies are small, population is less, but their participation in international trade is more. Recently, we have crossed Germany's GDP and became a third largest country. So this is what another important aspects when we are looking after this international trade. Now, self-reliance within globalization means participation in international trade while strategically developing domestic industries. So globalization we cannot avoid because this World Trade Organization is there. Now they are looking, entire world is looking after another organization which will be important for changing trade dynamics across the globe. Considering geopolitical situation, considering logistic support through the entire globe, entire universe. So all these things are very much important for understanding the current situation of economic development, current domain of economic development, and current participants in the economic development. So each of the country has a chance to participate in economic development and in international trade. So when we are talking about self-reliance, and we are talking self-reliance within the globalization, we are not we can not negating the globalization. We are not declining the globalization measures, but within a globalization, we are trying to have a self-reliance economy where we have to be entered in all areas of production. We can call it as a manufacturing sector. So participation in international trade within the globalization with the motive of self-reliance will definitely help the country to have a significant place in the international arena. So that is what very important. Strategically developing domestic industries. This is what another important aspects where the domestic industry and industrial production has to be increased. Enhancing competitiveness. Nowadays we are producing, but in some segment we are just producing to feed the country, to feed the domestic people. But we have to be competitive to the international market. So our competitiveness in the international market has to be recognized with the help of our industrial manufacturing production. And that is what the main goal behind the self-reliance. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. You are audible.
Okay. Because
Yes,
I
sir.
am
Yes,
just
sir.
going,
Yes,
speaking
sir.
and speaking, and just want to check whether my voice is reaching to you or not. Okay. When we are talking about the global value chain, supply chain, that again needs to be considered. That is what important parameter to understand the entire global scenario. Countries like Japan, South Korea, China integrated with global markets only after building robust domestic production system. Dr. Deng Xiaoping, who is termed as a father of this modern China, then president, we have changed a lot of things in China. And therefore, nowadays we are looking China as a very significant international place where the production is taking place. So that is what they have paid attention, and they have built robust domestic production system. Then the supply chain management with the big size ports. So if you look at the China's economic development, particularly they have started particularly after 1978. Dr. Deng Xiaoping has become a president, and then they have started reforms in China like anything. And nowadays we are looking China as a world superpower after the United States of America. Why they could achieve this? Because they have a robust domestic production system. And that robust domestic production system helped them to come up to participate, basically to participate in international trade, to dominate the export, global export. And therefore, nowadays, they are becoming the economic power. They are at the economic power after United States of America, where nowadays China is again looking to tie note with India for this kind of various kinds of activities, economic activities. Now, when we are talking about this Atmanirbhar Bharat, we are always looking for that Honorable Prime Minister states every time that Atmanirbhar Bharat, Atmanirbhar Bharat. What does it mean that? Now, what are the predictions? That is per capita predictions and the $1 trillion predictions. Now, see what happens. Ernst and Young, this is a agency who has predicted that India will reach $26 trillion by 2047. Currently, the India is at $4 trillion economy. So moving from this incoming almost 20 to 23 years, what $4 trillion from $4 trillion to $26 trillion to become a developed nations, that the rating agency, that is the estimation agencies, are claiming that India will reach by 2047 at $26 trillion economy. The another estimate and prediction is made by the Goldman and Sachs forecast. So Goldman and Sachs is the biggest international finance company. We can call it as a bank and finance companies, where they forecast India will reach $55 trillion by 2075. It is a conservative, it is termed as a conservative predictions, because $26 trillion, if India could reach by 2047, then by 2075, definitely India could reach more than this estimated value of $55 trillion. So this is what about the estimations made by these two agents. Government of India estimated $30 trillion to $35 trillion by 2047, considering all the factors. In this, all these estimates, the growth rate has been estimated. Then the inflation is also considered, and the exchange rate is also referred. So on the basis of the growth rate, on the basis of the inflation, and on the basis of the exchange rate of rupees against dollar. So considering this, that government of India estimated $30 to 35 trillion by 2047. So are these achievable targets? This is what very important, because setting a target is different thing, and we have set this target on the previous data. Definitely, without data support, we cannot estimate any target in coming future. By setting up target in coming future, we need to have a reference of the data from last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 50 years, 70 years. So, and in that, we have considered these shocks also, because in between there were several shocks to the economy. Because economy will not move smoothly every year on year basis. There will be up downs in the growth rate. There will be up downs in the inflation rate. Nowadays, we are looking after in last December, inflation rate was less than 2%. And sometime it reached more than 6%. So considering all these factors, considering all these variations, considering all the changes due to various changes happens in the economy, that government of India has predicted $30 to $35 trillion by 2047. What we are looking after this, the important aspect is that per capita income, because whatever is increased in the economy is ultimately going to the hands of people. So we can measure it in terms of per capita income. So $15,000 to 26,000, and $2,800 and 2,000 3,000. Looking after this 15,000 and 26,000, that is based on purchasing power parity. Means what? The capacity of rupees to buy the commodities. So the against dollar, capacity of rupees to buy the commodities is more. And therefore, when we are talking about the current market price, nominal GDP, when we are looking after, so GDP divided by population, that we measured. So in 2047, we have to measure the nominal GDP, per capita GDP of the, suppose if we could achieve $35 trillion divided by whatever populations in the 2047 current population growth rate, and how it will change over the period of time, the forecasting with the forecasting measures. That is what the current situation, current purchasing power parity per capita income is of 12,000 to 13,000. So we are looking after 26,000 of this per capita income, and the government of India estimates is about the 39 to 40,000 dollar per capita income. So with this kind of income, there will be significant change happens in the consumption pattern, consumption baskets of each of the countries, nations, individual. So these things are very important. It is always said that physical consumption and the satisfaction received from that consumption, that are the key parameters to understand whether the people are happy, whether the people are satisfied or not. So this is about the GDP per capita predictions made by different agencies, and even the how government of India look after this. So Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman Madam has estimated this on the basis of the available data, that India could reach by 30 to 35 trillion, where the Ernst & Young is has estimated 26 trillion. Goldman Sachs estimated almost 25 to 26 trillion, and the government of India is predicting more, where considering that with this kind of interventions, what kind of interventions? Huge infrastructural investment. So development of infrastructure investment plays a very crucial role, very significant role in the production system and even in the labor force participation, where people will be a part of economic development through their activities. Now, when we are looking after this self-reliance India with global integration, already we have referred in the earlier slide, focus on domestic capacity. This is what very significant concept when we are talking about, where if we look at in the history of the China's economic development, Japan economic development, Germany's economic development, we observed that the enhancing domestic capacity is only the way to participate and to march towards the Atmanirbhar Bharat and to active participate, impactful participation in the international trade. So innovation. Now today's economic development, today's manufacturing, today's service sector is innovation lead service sector. Because without innovation, we cannot have a advanced methodology, advanced technical production, we cannot improve the technology, and without innovations, we cannot come out with the new commodity. How this innovation leads to the economy, how this innovation leads to the production system, how this innovation helps to the industries, it will help in the two ways. One is that the process innovations. In process innovation, we consider that the innovation lead technology. So this technology will help for the process of production, process of technology, and process of innovation leads to increase in production, speed of production, quality of production, and innovativeness in the production, where nowadays customers are always looking for new kind of consumption. So how the industry is fulfilling that need, fulfilling the desire of the people, where they are ready for investing more, spending more on their consumption. So that is what innovation lead economic development. So this is what one thing. Another thing is product innovation. Nowadays we are looking after, if we look after automobile industry, engineering industry, telecommunication industry, any kind of manufacturing industry, they are coming out with new product every year. Means what? They are introducing new products in the market, and people are buying those products. Means innovation, which will be helpful to them to the introduction of new product, and that new product will establish in the market. So all these things are very significant and very important. So today's economic development is termed as a innovation lead economic development. Another important aspect is competitiveness. How we are competing in the market. If you don't have you have a domestic capacity, but if you don't have innovations, your domestic capacity cannot be utilized in the full extent. And if your domestic capacity is not utilized in the full extent, you will not get the market for your domestic production. Because whatever you are producing, it has to be backed by innovations. And after that, it will be stand up in the market. It will compete the other commodities in the market. So this competitiveness is also a very significant parameter where the Atmanirbhar Bharat approach is significant. So capacity building, innovation, and competitiveness, all the three aspects are very significant and will play a crucial role to achieve the Atmanirbhar Bharat by 2047. Now, what is our vision? Our vision is about local to global. Why local to global? Because we are trying to decentralize our production system. We are trying to use local resources in the production system, and we are trying to flash it at the global level. So from local to global is very significant aspect, because whatever is produced at local level nowadays through the international trade, it is very easy to market at the global level. So our small products are reaching out to the international level. But only thing is that they should be competitive enough. They should be uniqueness should be maintained in that. And therefore, we are trying in Atmanirbhar Bharat, we are trying to local to global, means we are trying to local resources, utilize local resources, local manpower, which is termed as a cheap manpower nowadays. And to understand the needs of the global, we shape them in that way through which we can encash the entire global market, or we can reach out to the entire global market and will get benefits from them. Now, the another important aspect is that pillars of Atmanirbhar Bharat. What can be pillars? The economy. When we are talking about economy, when we are talking about economy, few things are very important. First of all is growth rate, GDP. Growth rate. This GDP is depend on the growth rate. How much GDP will increase is determined by the growth rate. Growth rate, again, the investment. Investment is also a significant factors which can determine the growth rate, which can determine the employment in the economy, which can determine the innovativeness in the economy. So this pillars, inflation. So the control, there should be a control over the inflation. If you look at the inflation of USA, if you search on the Google that inflation in USA and inflation in India of last 10, 15 years, you will find out a significant difference. So what? They have controlled their inflation. And because of that, they could maintain the value of their currency, because the currency value is also related, associated with the inflation also. So we are always trying to refer the exchange rate against the dollar. Means what? We have to consider what economic parameters are there. What is their growth rate? What is their inflation? And what is our growth? What is our inflation? And the investment, which is a very significant factor. So if we look at this investment, innovations, then growth rate, then the employment. Now in Atmanirbhar Bharat, we are looking quantum jump. So the big jump in the investment. So incrementally, every year incremental, next year, our this year FDI is 81 trillion. So next year we are looking after 3-4% growth in FDI. So 85 trillion. So this will not be fulfill the objective of Atmanirbhar Bharat. There is a requirement of huge investment. So we have to attract huge investment. We have to sustain, we have to build the domestic investment pattern also. So that is what another important aspect when we are talking about economy. Quantum jump is not incremental change. So quantum jump is important. Incremental changes are happening over the period of time, but it could not lead massive economic growth. So to achieve the massive economic growth, consistent performance of economic growth, more than 8%, 7-8%. Once upon a time, China was reached 11%. So we are looking in same way that quantum jump is not required, and therefore we will be able to build our economy as Atmanirbhar Bharat and the Viksit Bharat at 2047. Industrial production, there should be a quantum jump in industrial production also, because our industrial production is not competing much in the international level. So our competitiveness is not that much, which can build our brand at the international level. So that industrial production. Through what? Industrial production, domestic industrial production, by attracting FII, institutional investment that should be increased, and the foreign direct investment in the manufacturing sector will help to increase the jump, will help to increase the big shift in the production, in industrial production. So this industrial production is also very important. Service sector, this is what another important sector where if we look at the economy, national GDP is, if we divide it in 3 sectors, then almost 69% is coming from service sector. So service sector is very important sector in the economy. And this service sector plays a crucial role because it is contributing large amount in the national income. And therefore, we have to look after the service sector also. That this look at the software and these services are very significant. International institutions, financial institutions, banks, these are contributing much in the economic development, and there is a need of increase in this. Another untapped area of agro-processing. Why this agro-processing is important? Because when we are looking after agro-processing, our country, our environmental conditions, atmospheric conditions are best suited for agriculture production. So agriculture processing comes after the agriculture production. So we are taking agriculture production and we are seeing that the post-harvest losses are huge when we are talking about our country. Agriculture sector is continuously affected because of several reasons. Rainfall, over-flooded situations, short rainfall, then the plant disease, environmental changes. So these are the factors which are affecting agricultural production. But by overcoming these challenges, if we could produce more agriculture output, it has to be sent to the processing, because raw agricultural produce will not help to earn more income to the cultivators. So it has to be go to processing. This processing will help in 2 ways. One is that it will increase the value of product and it will increase the storage duration of the product. Mere agriculture produce we cannot store for a longer period of time, but if we process on it, that we can have a lot of advantages to increase the value and to have a export potential. Because of less processing facilities, because of challenges before agriculture processing, our agricultural processing is not exported by larger extent. Most of the horticulture items like banana, pomegranate, orange, guava, grapes, we are sending it from the farm to market. So in between, if we could process this can lead to the national income, this can lead to the export of the country, and this will help to increase the foreign exchange, foreign earnings from this. So processing is very crucial, and we have to pay more attention on the agro processing. What we need to do for agro processing? We have to build the infrastructure, particularly in rural area, because in rural area where agriculture produce is produced and without much transportation, if we could build processing unit at the rural level, there are several advantages of this. One is what? We will be able to increase the rural employment. because rural employment is very important. And after this rural employment, we are trying to give assurance to them. We can stop migration from rural to urban. We can reduce congestion in the urban areas. So this agro processing will be a very unique tool for economic development. We can increase the value addition. So if you look at the post-harvest losses, if you go through the Professor Ashok Dalwai's report, who was headed as a chairman of Doubling Farmers' Income, he has wrote a separate report on this post-harvest losses. And these post-harvest losses are huge when we are particularly in horticulture and in vegetable production, so vegetable cultivation. So in these two segments, we can have a increase the value, we can have an option to more processing, and we can increase the life of the product. So agro processing can be a major tool for this Viksit Bharat. Infrastructure, modern and resilience. So this is very important. Nowadays we are looking after the basic infrastructure. See, the basic infrastructure plays a very crucial role because industries are looking for basic infrastructure. Even service sector is looking for basic infrastructure. And this basic infrastructure plays a very crucial role. If you look at the road construction nowadays, the government of India is taking massive action on road construction because the roads are turned as the nerves of the economy. So you have to strengthen your nerves. Then only the oxygen will reach to the each and every part of your body. Likewise, if you strengthen the road, if you build a good quality road, then what happens? The transportation will reach to that particular place and they will get connected to the entire economy. So this nerves should be strengthened, and again this will give you the rewards. Then the transport communication, ports. These ports are also ports are also important because if you go through the China's economic development, they have built big ports through which they strengthen their logistic system. And with that logistic system, they could transport their produce through or in a cheaper way to the global market. So nowadays, we are looking that government is focusing on ports development because that is what another important aspects. Water transportation is a cheapest mode of transportation that has to be built, and India is surrounded with ocean. So we have a biggest advantage of this current geopolitical system of economic development. So that is what another important way that we need to understand. So this modern and resilient infrastructure is again required. So this is called as the roads, ports, and IT infrastructure. Technology driven system. The system should be technology driven. Several reforms have been laid down during 10, 15, 20 years. One important reform that we have recently, the change has also been made in that goods and service taxes. So simplification of this will assure to the industry, will assure to the production system that easiness of production and easiness of sale. So this technology driven system, everywhere nowadays we are looking for technology. So technology driven system will again helps for the Atmanirbhar Bharat, for the entire economic development. Export of sophisticated items. What is the advantage to India? This is what, with the due manpower, availability of manpower, cheapest manpower, what happens? It is what the sophisticated, the focus has to be shifted to the sophisticated production, sophisticated manufacturing. Though this sophisticated manufacturing will help to increase the international trade, particularly export of the country. So semiconductors, where huge investment has been laid down, even the government has also supported in that basic infrastructure facilities. Another important and growing, ever-growing market is automobiles. We are seeing that sale of the cars, sale of the vehicles is tremendous. So what we have to do in that, we have to apply the Make in India model. So semiconductor, few years back were not manufactured in India. Nowadays, it is manufactured in India. So this semiconductor industry will reach in coming 10 years by almost 1 trillion. So global market would be of 1 trillion. So look, we have entered in the 1 trillion global market by entering in semiconductor industry. So it is not just only Make in India, but Make Forward. So Government of India launched, I think in the 2017, 16-17, Make in India. So now we are looking after Make Forward. So Make in India is okay, but for whom we are making? But we are making for Indians and for entire world, consumers in entire world. So this is what another important aspects when we are looking in the technology driven system. Looking after another important aspects where we are always looking for, and our country is always in discussion about the discussion about the demography of our country. So this demography is very important, and the country can encash this. Why country can encash this? Because demography is termed as a human resource. This is a kind of resource belongs to the country. Now, what we can do this resource is very important, because this demography, number of peoples, because they can be participate in economic development if at all they get an opportunity to participate. So we have to enable them to participate in economic development, because the human resource has to be built. It will not be independently developed, because this human resource is a human being which can lead a millions of contributions in the economy, one individual. So this vibrant demography and demand-driven growth. There are two ways looking after this demography, looking after the population. We can look after this from two angles. One angle is that it is a human resource, so it can contribute to the economy, because we are looking at China, United States, entire Europe, Japan. These countries nowadays are termed as old countries. Their dependent population is increasing. They are facing shortages of manpower because of China's economic population policy. Now they have changed their population policy. Single child population policy was there, and now they are facing manpower shortages and the dependent population. So where we look at the India, we can look to the India through different angles, because this is an human resource and a strong base of domestic demand. If we build this human resource will help to fulfill the strong base of domestic demand, because demand is coming from individuals. 140 crore population is there, out of which working age population is in a large portion. So it is termed as a most populous country, that is 140 crore. Now we are seeing when we are looking into the population, when we are looking into the demography, we have observed declining trend in growth. Now we are looking in declining trend in population growth. Once upon a time, in the mid 80s, in the decade of 80s, 1980s, we had laid down a policy of family welfare. So the population control measures were adopted by Indira Gandhi also. Nowadays, without making any efforts, the trend is showing population growth is declining. And the estimates, forecasts are made with that it will fall below 1% during 2021 to 2031 annual, and under 0.5% during 31 to 41. So during this period, we have to take advantage of this young population, because if the growth rate is falling below 0.5%, after a certain period of time, we will also face the problem of dependent population. So nowadays, why we estimate Viksit Bharat, why we estimate Developed Bharat, why we estimate Atmanirbhar Bharat, with the considering all these parameters. If this happens in this way, then there will not be more pressure of this population. It will reduce, and there is a possibility of increase in per capita income also. So this, considering this growth rate of population, estimates of this growth rate of population, we need to understand how our economy will go in the coming future and marching towards the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Maiden age population, that is 28.7%, and working age population is of 65%. So 65% population is 65% population is important parameter. So this 65% population would be a contributing factor to the economic development and to the Atmanirbhar Bharat. So we need to look after this and have to be paid more attention. See what happens after Second World War. When we are talking about Japanese economic development, they were facing challenges of skilled manpower, and they have taken a lot of efforts, tremendous efforts we can call it as, by increasing the quality of population, and they could achieve it, and they could utilize that population, that working age group population, in the economic development. So this vibrant demography is an important parameter of economic development. So we have to utilize this in economic development. If we provide opportunities to them, they will contribute to economic development, and they will again contribute to domestic demand. Because this domestic demand, who make demand for goods and services, people are making demand for goods and services. And as Amartya Sen says, great economist, that we have to increase the capabilities of human being. So the capability, of course, that he has presented in his book. So the capabilities, if we are able to increase the capabilities, that will lead to income, increase in income of the people. And what happens to marginal propensity to consume? They will go to the market and they will demand the goods and services. So this is what So what we can say, there are double benefit of building this human resource, and that will be a main contributor to now. Another life expectancy estimate is at 70 years. That is, by 2040, our life expectancy would be 70 years. So, considering this, we have to build such social security measures for this important population. Because when the Atmanirbhar Bharat, India is achieved developed nation goal, developed nation stage, there would be different challenges. And to solve those challenges, the country has to take efforts since now. So they have to be looked after the forthcoming challenges in this way. Large youth workforce and skill gap. Today we all are working in educational institutes. Might be private, might be public. Some of you might be working in central universities, in state universities, deemed universities. We are seeing there is a large skill gap. Large youth workforce is there, but skill gaps are also bigger. So to reduce these skill gaps, recently Government of India has come out with new policy, that is National Education Policy 2020. Even the one ministry is working at the central level and at the each state level. So we are trying to build this human resource in the federal states, where states and center is there. So both are working together for building the capacity for the increasing the youth workforce, for the increasing the skills of youth workforce, where they can contribute to economic development. Sir, noise is coming. Somebody is speaking in between. Hello? Dr. Shivaji Suryavanshi? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, please inform that somebody is speaking in between, so it is disturbing. Dr. Shivaji Suryavanshi?
You can, sir, you are co-host. I think you can mute all the participants.
No. My screen is now the presentation screen. The coordinator has to be look after this. I cannot mute anybody. The noise is disturbing. Do you feel any disturbance of this noise?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I
Dear
already
participant, do you
got
feel
the
any disturbance
message on
of this
chat.
noise?
Yes, sir. Continue, sir.
It's very disturbing.
Inform to coordinator.
Dr. Shivaji Suryavanshi, sir, your mic is on. Please mute it.
Sorry, madam. By mistake, झालं ते.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Oh, where is the presentation? Is my presentation visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. Okay. We were in this on this slide, vibrant demography and demand-driven growth, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Should we have to take break of 5 minutes?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Huh? Okay, let's begin.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Sir.
Sir, please. Hello. Hello. Is anybody is there?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Can we
Yes, sir.
start?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So is slide visible?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we will reach at this vibrant demography and demand-driven growth. So after this, what the important aspects which are considered to be important that in terms of international trade and Atmanirbhar Bharat, where integration with the global value chain is very important, because the global value chain assured the markets and we have to integrate with them. Then only we will be able to showcase our commodities in the international arena. Export-led growth with domestic value addition. This is what another important aspects when we are talking about the Atmanirbhar Bharat. So our growth should be led by our exports, because so we have to use the domestic capacity to fulfill the demands of the people, those who are in other countries. So that export-led growth and domestic value addition is also very important, because as I have talked about previous slide, that the agro-based industries and agro-processing. So this agro-processing will add the domestic value, because value addition is very important. Today, whatever is cultivated in agriculture, if we take that to the market, you will not get more value on that particular item, that particular commodity, that particular crop, that particular horticulture item, that particular ocean item. So there is a need of the value addition, and it has to be the export potential. Reduce import dependence in strategic sector. Strategic sectors are very crucial for the economy, and we have to reduce the dependency in that, because these strategic sectors like that, what we can say, as we are leaders in some areas where we say that the financial inclusion and the finance transactions. So we need to be reduce the import dependence in the those opportunities for India. What are the opportunities for India? If we look at the opportunities, we have to strengthen manufacturing. As we service sector will lead again with the growth in the manufacturing sector. So we have the policy of Make in India, and now we have the policy of Startup India. Now we have the policy of innovations. So these things should be strengthened, and we have to the industries particularly how to use this intervention like Startup India and Make in India to make their competitiveness, to increase their competitiveness in the global market. So they have to think about not only to fulfill the demand for domestic consumers, but the make for world. That is what another important aspect. Export diversification. When we are looking after this export, then we should not focus on whatever that we are doing since last 30, 40 years. We have to diversify our exports. We have to look after the global demand, where the possibility of increase in demand is happen to be in coming future. That we have to identify, because this COVID pandemic has shown the limitations to each of the nation, particularly in the health sector. And from that, what some countries have taken lesson from that. They have built the health infrastructure. They have assured the people for the good health. They have made some interventions regarding the health of the individuals. So, and we have to look for the other countries also where the probable demand is coming in coming future, where pharma is there, where electronics is there, or defense is there. So these sectors has to be diversified. So India has to be take larger efforts. They have to put strong act. They have to have a massive action on these particular diversifications. So export diversification is also a very significant area where the country can lead the country. Attracting FDI through PLI schemes. So that the FDI is very important, because see what happens, we are attracting, we're directly importing or attracting foreign currency through which we are making our production system strong, through which we are building our export competitiveness, through which we are trying to provide employment to our unemployed population. And we can say that handful employment, that is very important. Today's employment where the people has to be paid in a right manner with a sufficient amount of money. So this attracting FDI, that is what another important aspect. Becoming a trusted global supply chain partner. So India has to be take active lead in this global supply chain management, because building ports, creating infrastructure, creating export lead infrastructure will also help for India to participate in global supply chain as a effective partner for the supply chain management of the across the globe. Now, when you look at the what are the sectors where India can grow by a larger speed, by larger extent, by faster way. So, if we look at the manufacturing, then electronics and semiconductors. In previous slide, we were talking about the diversification of export. So, diversification, the traditional export is there. Yes, it will be there. The country might be, some industries might be masters in that, but they have to diversify to electronics and semiconductors, where the new opportunities are coming up, where the need requirement of this from the entire globe, from the very small nations also, that we can catch the demand and we can export them with this electronics and semiconductors. Value at over 680 billion in 2024. See what happens. What is the current value of 680 billion in 2024 and projected to hit over $1 trillion by 30 to 34. Look at the CAGR, compound annual growth rate. If you look at the CAGR, range between 7.5 to 15.4%. Our economy is, we have estimated our economic growth would be 7 to 9%. Here, the CAGR is of 15.4% maximum of. So here there is a more possibility of larger production and larger participation in the international trade, because this semiconductor industry is growing like anything. So we have to look after, the India has to look after such sectors where growth possibility is more. And from that more growth possibilities, India could encash something which will be helpful for Atmanirbhar Bharat. So this, and again, this could be termed as a technological production, where the more technology is involved, where sophisticated employment is involved, where value is more in terms of other products. So these manufacturing sectors are very significant and important sectors. Made rupees 76,000 crores initiative to boost manufacturing, display and design infrastructure, and the current share is 1.3%. See, it is a very lesser share in the semiconductor industry, 1.3%. If we could reach by 10% of the global market, then it will create a bigger opportunity to participate in global sector and to increase our export in the global sector. So this is the sector where most diversification should be done, and most firm has to be take initiatives in this. Now, if we look at the agriculture, as in the previous slide, we were discuss about agro-processing, agro-based industries, agro-processing, value additions, value creations, what we can say, expectancy, life expectancy of product will also enhance. Where value-added agro products, current export is 4.5 lakh crores, target is 20 lakh crore by 2028. So 4-time target in these 2 years, where the agro exports has a huge potential. Because when we are looking after our trade partners, then we have to focus more in this to have build a good quality product, state-of-the-art quality production, and the market-oriented output. So all these things will again help for the making Atmanirbhar Bharat by 2047, or the Viksit Bharat by 2047. Services, the IT, fintech, and digital trade. These are the emerging sectors of the economy, where we can have a huge opportunities to participate in. Because information technology, financial technology, where as the transactions are going up, loans are going up, loans are disbursed in larger quantity, larger amount, then this fintech is serving a purpose of understanding the entire global market. So these fintech services have a huge potential in coming future. As volume of trade increases, as income increases, this fintech can play a significant role in managing all these financial sectors. What are the areas where we have to focus more on? So one is that cyber security, which is very important today. Now we all are connected with this unified payment interface, UPI, and cyber security, cloud computing, and AI powered automation has a huge potential. And the approximate market size is of 160 billion. So this is what the another important area where particularly the service sector of the economy, where huge value addition, where huge transactions, huge international trade potential is appeared. So the country has to be built, first of all, country has to be built the digital infrastructure. That is what basic and preliminary conditions for this. Another important area where the opportunities are lies, that is the defense and space. So the indigenous production with the export. So these two things are very important, where if we are looking at the competition at the global level, of this arms and armed equipped weapons, there is a possibility of huge exports in the coming future. So country has to be laid down, country has to be look into deep in this area, and through which what we can participate in international trade. So these are the certain areas where, 4 areas where we have to diversify our focus. We have to diversify our export production and the export, and to encash the opportunity to become the Atmanirbhar Bharat by 2047. Now, what are the growth incentives? That is what one is what Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-reliant. We are looking for each and every production where we can fulfill the domestic demand, and we can have some international trade in this domain. So this Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-reliant Bharat is what one area where we need to be look. Ayushman Bharat, where the healthcare infrastructure is very important. As we are looking at the human resource, we have to strengthen this human resource, and this Ayushman Bharat, that is a healthcare initiatives, will definitely help to achieve the Atmanirbhar Bharat goal. Digital India, tech and digitization. This tech firms, tech companies, and the digitization. These tools are what we can say. These two interventions create a good quality infrastructure, digital infrastructure, which again will help to the production system, which again help to the logistic, and will again helps to the reach out to the market. So this is what another important aspects where the growth incentives are there. Employment linked incentive schemes, because this is what recently Government of India has launched. Employment linked incentive schemes, that is what financial support to employer and the first time job seekers to boost formal employment, incentivizing hiring for 2 years. So India has launched recently one scheme about providing, if the firm is employing the labor or the person, then what they will give some employment incentives to the firms for hiring for 2 years. So this is about the very important initiatives where the Government of India has taken initiative to boost the employment in the economy, and to provide kind of support to the industries where they are also coming up. So the job seekers are identified, and they are trying to involve them in formal kind of employment. So that is what another important aspects when we are talking about this Atmanirbhar Bharat. National infrastructure, this is very important. That is what 2.0, this is what about 150 lakh crores. Earlier it was almost 80,000 or 85,000 crores, where national infrastructure pipeline 2.0 has increased it, doubled this, because government has realized without robust infrastructure, we cannot attract the firms, we cannot attract the investment, we cannot give the facilities to the industries to jump, and that is what for the quantum jump where the Government of India is expecting. And this is what another important aspects where growth incentives are important. Role in global trade architecture. What is the role? WTO engagement and reform advocacy. So since beginning, since the GATT, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, India is a leading partner in the international trade, where the India is also a founder member of World Trade Organizations. India's engagement is since the foundation. So, and India is a pro-reform country. It is not an anti-reform country. Since 1991, our country has taken much lead in the reform areas. Before that, our country was known as a Hindu growth rate country. Our growth rate was measured and named as a Hindu growth rate, pegged between 2005% to 3.5%. So this is what another important aspects where we need to be understand how our role in global trade architecture is. And reform advocacy is since beginning. So India has initiated the reforms and India have experienced the benefits of those reforms. And again, the next level reforms are expecting. Industry is also expecting next level reforms. So the government is trying to provide these kinds of reforms. Free trade agreements with strategic partners. This is what another important area where India is currently working. Now India is working with the Germany, with the France for free trade agreements and building the strategic partners in the international trade where the dominance of certain countries there. And India is again looking for the alternative trade partners with whom India can have a possibility of bigger trade. So this free trade agreements is also an important area. Finding new trade partners, South-South cooperation and global South leadership. This is what looking that BRICS has formed, and India is playing a crucial role in this global trade architectures where South cooperations, we have a SARC, we have ASEAN, and now BRICS that is there. And the countries are coming and joining to the BRICS where they are seeing that the next level leadership through the India. So this is what another important area where India can play a significant role in the international trade. Now, what are the challenges in international trade? If you look at the risk of protectionism and trade retaliation, so this is what these are the expected things where certain countries will be protecting their industries, protecting their manufacturing sectors, protecting their service sector by imposing tariffs like United States of America recently have announced 2-3 times that imposing more tariffs on Indian commodities. So this can happen. So we cannot control the other countries, but what we can find the other trade partners. And India is looking in that way. India is trying in that way to find out the free trade agreement with other countries where there is a possibility of more trade. And so trade retaliation is also possible. High cost due to import substitution. So this is what the challenge before the Indian manufacturer, that is a higher cost due to import substitution, because import substitution cost is increasing in this. Compliance with global standard and quality norms. Again, this is what where India is lagging behind. They have to pay more attention in terms of the quality, in terms of the efficiency of the products. So compliance has to be made with the global standards and it has to be maintained the quality norms. Without maintaining quality norms, the country cannot be have the global competitiveness. They cannot compete with other countries in this particular area. Infrastructure and logistic bottlenecks, where the India is working that they are building infrastructure. Like as I said, that what happens, the infrastructure, road infrastructure, communication, then ports, then IT infrastructure, then the digital infrastructure. All these things are very important, where the India has to be work and it has to be reached to the interior parts of the countries. Then only we can overcome this challenge. Atmanirbhar Bharat versus protectionism. Self-reliance means not isolationism. So we are not trying to isolate ourselves from the international arena. Atmanirbhar Bharat means what? Self-reliance. Self-reliance means the strong productive capacity, building productive capacity, strong participation in international trade in all the respects. So isolationism is not at all thought of the government of the India. So But Atmanirbhar Bharat is the main efforts area where the country is. Focus on competitiveness, not import bans. We are trying, we should not try with the import bans like America is doing now. They are imposing more and more tariffs. Instead of that, what we need to do, we have to increase the domestic competitiveness. Suppose we are importing milk items, then we have to build domestic competitiveness where we can keep our prices of our product lesser than the imported items. So this competitiveness is very important, and this can be lead with the quality of the product. So this is what another important area where India needs to be worked. Strategic openness with selective protection. So this is what another important way. Frederick List was one German economist, and he said that what the nurse the baby, protect the child, and free the adult. So how we have to participate in international trade? Where we should provide protection to our industries, where we should free our industry to fight with the global competitions, and where we have to protect them. So nurse the baby, protect the child, and free the adult. So where big companies, there is no any kind of protection is required because they know the global competitiveness. But in small firms, the country has to be protective for them and through the way of the tariff policy. Impact on consumer and industry, short-term price pressures. What type of impact that we observed in this? That is what impact on consumers and impact on industry. The short-term price pressures, long-term gains in employment and innovations. This is what another way through which the impact is observed. Need for skill development and marginal micro, small, and medium enterprises support. So this is what very important area where India needs to be focused on, because this is the biggest employment provider sector of the economy. We have to increase the competitiveness of this by certain kind of technological interventions, because without technological interventions, their sustainability may not be achieved. And for that kind of support, the government has to be come forward, and micro, small, and medium enterprises, where the employment opportunities are there, where where the possibility of small production sectors, development of small production sectors is there, and this needs to be focused by the country. Production linked intensive schemes, that is one scheme. Ease of doing business reforms, this kind of support that is provided, because ease of doing business. So whatever, whenever it comes to the production, whenever it comes to the any business activity, any economic activity, there should be feeling of ease of doing business. There should not be more. Before 1990, it was termed as a permit Raj. So permit Raj means what? The governance and regulations takes more time to begin the any kind of economic activity. So that should be avoided, and government is trying for that also. Digital public infrastructure should be built up, because this digital public infrastructure is an important aspects where they can participate all the agents of economic development in the economic development. So participation is required, easiness is required. So digital public infrastructure, we have a separate slide on this. We will discuss in that slide. Trade facilitation measures. This is what another way through which, like when we are talking about international trade, so the insurance facilities, then the transportation facilities. So all this should be in a very easy way availability, and simple compliance should be there. Another policy support that government has now introduced in the economy regarding the domestic market and the income earners, that is a direct tax code. They have introduced direct tax codes where the slabs are revised, tax rates are revised as per the various slabs. Then another important policy reforms has been initiated in the before 3-4 months back. GST rate cuts. So simplified, there were 6 slabs, now they are merged in 2 slabs, now they are removed, and now there are only major important 2 slabs are only there. One is what 12 is merged in 5, and 27 is merged in most of the item 27 from 28% to 18%. So this is what a very important thing where the government is trying to assure to the businesses that we are making it simplified, and even they are reduced the taxes in terms of the goods and service tax. 5% taxes are only for essentials. Again, there are for some essentials, there are 0% taxes, 18% for standard and services, and 40% for luxury and scene goods. So they have reduced this. Now, labor reforms, social security, minimum wages, and health facility. See, Atmanirbhar Bharat, we cannot consider it in one way. We have to think about all the economic agents. We have to think about businesses, we have to think about industries, we have to think about laborers, we have to think about customers, we have to think about processors, we have to think about banks, finances, insurance. All the sectors have to be tuned with the economic development. And reforms in all the sectors are required, not just only in one sector. So government is coming forward in all these aspects. So labor reforms, again, they have initiated. So in spite of reduction in the GST rates and merging of some items into lower rate structure, so the October 2025 revenue is more than the earlier GST rates compared to earlier GST rates. So this is what now the results are coming out that if we reduce the taxes, there is a possibility of getting more revenue. So this is what another way through which we can consider this. Now, another important aspect which is very important for this modern age, for the production system and for the service delivery system, the digital physical infrastructure is very important. It refers to the foundational set of system often called India Stack that allows the government and private sector to deliver essential services to citizens at a population scale. So service delivery to citizens is another important aspect when we are talking about. DPI provides the digital rails for secure flow of identity, money, and data. See, digital physical infrastructure, where in earlier slide we have talked about cyber security, data security, data privacy, all these should be maintained during this economic growth process and during to achieve the Atmanirbhar Bharat, because we have to work on various parameters. So this digital physical infrastructure is what flow of identity, money, and data. So 3 things are important. So this several parameters, 4 pillars. What are digital identities? Aadhaar is digital identity everywhere. Now it is mandated that Aadhaar would be required. Digital payment, UPI, Unified Payment Interface, that is a very successful initiative, or we can call it as an intervention by the government of India. So October 2025, monthly transactions have been recorded of rupees 27 lakh crores in 1 month, 27 lakhs crores. So all this comes under the arena of the government. So account to account transfer, that is what increases the velocity of money, and this enable the people to easy transactions. So data exchange, that is what third is data exchange. Now, what are the platforms? Some platforms have been opened up. That is a DigiLocker, where We can store our document, all kind of document. ONDC, Open Network for Digital Commerce, Ayushman Bharat, Digital Health IDs, Diksha, Digital Infrastructure for School Education, Bhashini, AI-powered language translation platform. Economic value added is estimated to be 2.9% to 4.2%. So from every aspect, we are trying to reach to the Atmanirbhar Bharat by 2047. How that we are trying to reach to that? We are considering each of the intervention, each of the sectors of the economy, each of the economic activity of the economy for Ayushman Bharat 2000, Atmanirbhar Bharat 2047. Where from everywhere we are trying to increase the growth. So here, increase the value addition. So value addition increase means growth has been increased. So this 2.9 to 4.2% value addition could facilitate the more growth in coming future. Now, what are the challenges before DPA? Digital divide. Again, this digital physical infrastructure, the challenge is that the rural area, we are not able to cover the rural area that is called as a 25% of population. So this IT infrastructure has to be expanded like anything. Then only they will become the part of this economic development. Otherwise, there will be what economic inequality will remain there. So that should be avoided and that should be considered. So the digital IT infrastructure has to be reach out to the interior parts of the country. Privacy and security, managing the essential biometric and financial data of 1.4 billion population. So 140 crore population's privacy and security data management is very important, because nowadays we are seeing that digital arrays, digital fraud, financial fraud. So there should be what happens. Government has to be earn the belief of their residents. So this belief can be earned only with providing privacy, security, and the digital data space. Exclusion risk for most vulnerable population, that is the authentication issue today we are facing because of the more hits, the system is not properly working. So vulnerable population will get mostly affected, and that should be reduced. So exclusion risk should be avoided, and there should not be any kind of exclusion from this. If we look at this other challenges, then poverty and equality, increase inequality, redistribution of income, defined UPI, targeted transfer payment. Now all these systems are at the place in the country where we have food for work policy, we have food security measures, we have direct DBT transfer, and now we have to think about universal basic income. So these things will helpful for poverty, reduction of poverty, elimination of poverty, and assuring equality in the economy. So these are the challenges where government has to be work, and government has to be keep some amount in their disposal to give assurance to the people, those who are not able to participate in the economic growth. Equalities and opportunities, quality public education, affordable housing. See, opportunities should be there. People are not asking you for money. People are asking you the opportunities. If you provide them a good opportunities, they will not ask you for any kind of assistance. If they earn income, there will not be any need to provide them food, free food, or the subsidiary rate food grain, or any kind of universal basic income measures. So equality of opportunity is very important, and therefore increasing the human resource, increasing the quality of human resource, skills of the human being, this will assure them to have participation in economic growth and reducing the burden on the public expenditure. Affordable housing that government has started now. Then the skill gap investment in human capital. It is very important and very significant that gap should be reduced and people should be employable, we can say that. So employability issue will be resolved, and this will again be helpful for the people. Encashment of human resource, like physical resources, the government of India with a huge human resource. So to encash this human resource, we have to build the good education system, affordable education, affordable to all. So education should be affordable to all, not just only the elementary education, but the quality education, quality higher education, from where they will have more opportunities to perform in the market through the different areas, in the different areas. High unemployment, underemployment, gap between underpaid and proper paid, 10 to 14% skill mismatch, public labor force participation, labor force survey, and labor force participation of women is low. So this needs to be understood, because this is what very important aspects where we need to understand. Infrastructure deficit. Again, this infrastructure deficit has to be eliminated, and proper infrastructural support has to be provided to all the agents of economic activities for their better functioning, for their easy functioning, for their growth and for their performance in the market. So this infrastructural deficit has to be reduced. Agricultural distress that we are observing continuously. So this agricultural distress can be eliminated by providing them assured prices, by providing them inputs, proper inputs, and irrigation facilities. So all these are not in their hands. So you have to make more capital, have to invest more capital in agriculture sector where the cultivators will get benefits of that. We have a huge trade deficit. This trade deficit has to be eliminated by increasing export, by supporting the industries, those who are export-led industries. Two important factors that we need to understand. Inflation, which is a very significant parameter in economy, where this can put some hurdles, this can raise some hurdles in the process of economic development. Now, inflation targeting is fixed. So flexible inflation targeting is fixed by the RBI, and it has to be 4 plus 2 minus 2. So the targeting is 4 plus 2 minus 2, means the inflation should be range between 2 to 6%, because from 2 to 6% inflation is tolerable, where the growth can be lead. But beyond 6% and below the 2% is not will not significantly contribute to the target set by the government of achieving Viksit Bharat goal, or the $30 trillion by 2047. 4% is the target and ideal rate of inflation that the RBI aims to achieve. Plus minus 2% is termed as a tolerance band, acceptable fluctuations around 4% targeting, and upper tolerance limit is 6 and lower tolerance limit is 2. So 4 minus 2 and 4 plus 2. The last point of this slide is very important. If inflation remain above 6 or below 2% of 3 consecutive quarters, the RBI is legally required to submit a formal report to the government explaining the failure and detailing remedial actions. So control of inflation is very important, because it adversely affect on the what we can say exchange rate of rupee against dollar versus dollar. So inflation control is very important measure. If we look at the GDP growth, measurement of GDP growth in terms of dollar. So GDP growth in dollar, real GDP growth, that is in rupees, plus inflation in India, and minus rate of depreciation of rupees with respect to dollar. How we calculate it? If we assume annual real GDP growth 7%, inflation 5%, rate of depreciation is 3%. Rate of depreciation means rate of depreciation of rupees against dollar. So 3% annual rate that we have considered from the last 30 years data. That last 30 year data observed that 3% depreciation is observed on yearly basis. So then what happens? Then the GDP in dollar would be 7 plus 5 minus 3, that is a 9%. And formula 70 is used to calculate the number of years required for the sum of money to double in value. So this formula 7 is used, that how many years are required. If growth rate is 5%, then how many years are required? If growth rate is 7%, then how many years are required to double the GDP? If the growth rate is 9%, how many years are required to double the GDP? That is 70 divided by, that is 7.7, that is 8 years. That 8 years will take to double the GDP in the economy. And in 2025, India GDP is $4 trillion. Then by 2047, by the above formula estimation measures, it would be 4 into 2 into 2 into 2. That is what is estimated $32 trillion, where this match with the government of India estimation of 30 to $35 trillion economy by 2047. So if you look at the some countries where the strategies were used for growing or the economic development of the country, if you look at the China, then they have made modernization agriculture. See, in our country, it is always said that only industry can contribute to the economic development, and that can be an important. Yes, industry and service sector are important contributors. But looking into the agriculture, China has made huge intervention in agriculture, introduced technology in the agriculture, and they could encash the benefits from the agriculture. They could reduce the migration from the rural to urban. Then they have paid more attention to the industry, that is the capacity building, domestic capacity building, domestic production capacity that they have enhanced. Then they have made intervention in the defense and the for science and technology that they have introduced. And with these 4 measures from 1978, after the Dr. Deng Xiaoping, they have worked on all these aspects, and now the China is we can term as a Vikasit China or the developed China. Then competitive market, then strong welfare state, then labor market policies and active fiscal policies. So these are the 4 strategies where Japan were incorporated long back. See what happens. Any massive action, if you want to achieve higher goals, you require a massive action. And you have to find out the area where massive action can be taken. Then industrial policy, if you look at the Japan growth strategies, then industrial policy that they have changed, huge skill gap was there, and for that they have built the education system, and then the infrastructure that they have paid more attention. We know that China's ecosystem, China's nature as adverse to the economic development, and they have looked after the export-oriented. As per the Subramaniam has suggested that 4 pillars that in our country we can make some intervention as per this. Macroeconomics focus on growth, then inclusive growth of large middle class. See, we have large middle class. If we give money to them, they will boost to the market. So that is what the large middle class, we have to take care of this large middle class. Ethical wealth creation and virtuous cycle ignited by private investment. So private investment plays a key role because there are limitations to invest by the government. Market, production, industry belongs to the private sector. So private investment, government can provide kind of support to them through the public investment, through the building infrastructure. But the private entrepreneurs have to be come up and they have to be part of this economic development. What are the way forward? Balance between self-reliance and openness, that we have to pay attention to this balance. We have to maintain the balance between the self-reliance and openness. Invest in R&D and human capital. These are the areas where country can work by large extent. Enhance export competitiveness, align Atmanirbhar Bharat with sustainable development. See what happens. We have to, we cannot negate the cost of the development, but we have to achieve the development. We have aligned our Atmanirbhar Bharat goal. We have aligned our production goals with the sustainable development, because we have to preserve the nature, which again is a source of living for human being. Fiscal management and exchange rate management, that is what another important way on which the government has to be looked after. Reduce the cost of development, avoid the shocks. That is, avoid the shocks. If we avoid the shocks, then we can reduce the cost of economic development. So at last, this is the last slide of my presentation. What we can conclude? We can conclude as Atmanirbhar Bharat as a complement to globalization, opportunity to reshape and redefine India's role in global trade, and outcome is dependent upon reforms, competitiveness, and cooperation. So these three conclusions that indicates that the government and the private sector has to work hand in hand, and the facilitation is very important by the government, and building the strong production base with building of infrastructure. That is what another important aspects of Atmanirbhar Bharat. With this, I have done. If any questions are there, questions are welcome. If any questions are there, you can ask the questions. I have finished my presentation. Is anybody is there? No coordinator is there?
Yes.
If you have any question, you can ask.
Hello. Hello.
हा सर, माझं झालंय हा सर. So one question, please describe Make in India and Made in India. So this Make in India efforts have been taken to strengthen the domestic production system. So that is a Make in India. And Make for India is for the domestic consumption, and Make for the world is for the global consumption, that we look after the export lead production. So while Make in India is applied, The Make in India means any productive activity has to be carried out in India. So it can be through financial institutional investment or the foreign direct investment. And when the FDI entered in our country, they always look for the domestic market. And government insists them to domestic market is the goal, but we are looking for earn some foreign currency. So you should be in a position to export some of your production. So that is called as what Make in India and Make for India and Make for the world. So the export lead growth that we are looking for. Anything else?
सर एक मेरा प्रश्न है
Yeah,
कि
please,
जैसे
madam.
जी सर, जैसे आपने बताया कि जो सड़कें हैं वो जो इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट की बेंस होती हैं, पर इसके आसपास जो पेड़ वगैरह काटे जाते हैं सर बड़े पैमाने पर, तो उसके बारे में कोई लॉ या ऐसा कुछ कंपनियां करती हैं क्या इम्प्लीमेंट उसको?
The thing is that मैडम कैसा है, अभी कोई रोड डेवलपमेंट चल रहा है तो of course it is harming to the natures, and we are always seeing that the concrete road are built for the longer service. There are provisions as per the Environmental Protection Act. They have to repot the trees around the road constructions side from the two sides of the roads. So that is mandated to the road construction companies, and nowadays the contractors are planting the trees and even taking care of those trees. They are filling the water to them, and at least 4 or 5 years they have to take care of those trees, and after that they will self-sustain. So there are provisions.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, please.
So this is roll number 65.
Yes,
So I
no
wanted
problem.
to ask, first of all, thank you for this informative session. Sir, I wanted to ask you one question, like with respect to the self-reliance part.
Yes.
Sir, we heavily rely on Microsoft and Google for the services.
Yes.
Recently Zoho from India has launched Zoho services and Aratai. But
Yes.
I have seen hardly any people are using those services, though we have the service, but the number of people who are using the services are very limited. I myself have downloaded Aratai, which is a substitute for the WhatsApp, but hardly any people, my friends or any colleagues or the organizations are there on Aratai. So even after downloading, it's of no use as such for me. So what we can do to make it usable on a larger scale, sir?
One thing is there, if you are any building or creating or manufacturing any service item through which we can apply it for the day-to-day practices. First of all, that user friendliness should be maintained, should be assured. And another thing is the security concerns that should be important. So whenever Make in India, if any such industry is coming up, in initial stage they will face the challenges. But again, in my presentation, I stressed on competitiveness has to be increased, and that competitiveness and the what we can say, reaching out to the public, that efforts has to be taken by that particular firm. So that is not the part of government, because any private entrepreneurs are coming up and they are doing business. That is their role to make it competitive and their role to reach to the market.
Correct, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anything else? I must say that thank you for patient listening, because since 11:15 I am speaking and you are listening. So thank you for your patient listening and paying attention.
Thank you, sir.
All the questions are over? I think questions are over.
Thank you, sir.
So Madhu madam, should we stop now?
यस सर, मैं धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करूं क्या अभी?
हाँ चलिए करिए, नो प्रॉब्लम।
जी सर। सबसे पहले तो मैं यूजीसी एमएमटीपी के ऑनलाइन इस 16वें FIP का धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करती हूँ, जिनके द्वारा आपको सुनने का अवसर प्राप्त हो पाया है और आपने आत्मनिर्भर भारत अवसर एवं चुनौतियों पर आपका व्याख्यान बहुत ही सारगर्भित था और हमें इसमें बहुत सारी चीजें सीखने को मिला। इसमें हम जान पाए कि वैश्वीकरण बनाम आत्मनिर्भरता के आभासी विरोधाभास को इतनी सुंदरता से आपने स्पष्ट किया। आपने बताया कि आत्मनिर्भरता अलगाव नहीं बल्कि मजबूत आंतरिक क्षमताओं, विनिर्माण कौशल एवं संस्थानों के माध्यम से वैश्विक अर्थव्यवस्था से शक्ति की स्थिति में जुड़ना है। जापान, दक्षिण कोरिया एवं चीन जैसे देशों के उदाहरण देकर आपने घरेलू उत्पाद प्रणालियों को मजबूत बनाने की आवश्यकता पर जोर दिया। इसमें हम जान पाए कि मेक इन इंडिया, मेक फॉर द वर्ल्ड के तहत विनिर्माण को मजबूत बनाना, फार्मा, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स एवं रक्षा में निर्यात विविधीकरण ने हमें प्रेरित किया। सेक्टर वाइज अवसरों को आपने बहुत ही अच्छे ढंग से समझाया। अपने भारत की जीवंत जनसांख्यिकी एवं जीडीपी पूर्वानुमानों को आत्मनिर्भरता से जोड़कर एक चित्रण प्रस्तुत किया, जिससे कि हम लाभान्वित हुए। इसके साथ ही आपने डिजिटल फिजिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एवं डेटा एक्सचेंज को इंडिया स्टैक के रूप में वर्णित करते हुए अपने वैश्विक मानकों के अनुपालन, नीति समर्थन योजनाएं, डिजिटल सार्वजनिक अवसंरचना सुधार, व्यापार सुविधा एवं चुनौतियों पर भी आपने बहुत अच्छा मार्गदर्शन किया, जिसमें गरीबी, असमानता, अवसर समानता, कौशल अंतर, मानव संसाधन उपयोग आदि को बताया। चीन, जापान एवं जर्मनी की विकास रणनीतियों से तुलना करते हुए अपने लोकल टू ग्लोबल विजन को भी सतत विकास के साथ जोड़ने का मार्ग दिखाया। स्वनिर्भरता एवं खुलेपन के बीच संतुलन, R&D एवं मानव पूंजी में निवेश, निर्यात, प्रतिस्पर्धा वृद्धि। सर, आपके ये विचार हमें बदलते वैश्विक व्यापार गतिशीलता के प्रति भारत के प्रतिसाद को मजबूत बनाने की प्रेरणा देते हैं। मैं प्रशासक महोदय का भी विशेष रूप से आभार ज्ञापित करती हूँ और तकनीकी व्यवस्था जो बनाए रखे हुए हैं उनके प्रति भी आभारी हूँ। सबके प्रति अपना आभार प्रदर्शन करती हूँ। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Thank you for MMTTC, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, for giving me an opportunity to connect with you, to share with you whatever thoughts that I have. So thank you very much. Thank you. Should I leave now?
Yes, sir.
I think the coordinator has to close down it. I think they have handed over this entire screen to me, that I have to look after everything. Oh, sir. एंड करू का सर? मीटिंग संपला आमचं. हा, कारण इथे एंडच ऑप्शन येते, लिव्ह येत नाही बघा. हा, लिव्ह आला आता. करू लिव्ह? थँक्यू व्हेरी मच.